So I'm Rob Slayer with Cast Construction, and our topic was who wants to exchange project data. Our focus boiled down to the concept of how do we take the submittal process and improve that process so that the owner gets the data they need for facilities management at the end state, but in a way that is efficient for everyone along the way so that we don't incur additional costs to the project or to the client. So we really lucked out with the group that we had. We had a couple people that were GCs. We had a couple people that were from University of Texas, so they represented the owner side. And then we had several people that were from electrical contractors. And then the rest of our group was actually a bunch of folks that are doing like third-party technology service providers. So they kind of like gut checked the rest of us when we talked about how we thought the process should go or what might be possible. But it was also beneficial to have them maybe not as involved or as knowledgeable about the details of the industry. So as we would explain something and they would go, that sounds stupid, why on earth do you do it that way? We would have to stop and think about it and figure out if there was a real reason why we had those stopping points and those inefficiencies, versus if we kind of came together and realized, no, there is not a good reason for that inefficiency.
What we arrived at the end was how might we produce an experimental approach to project data interoperability in ways that allow projects to specify how added costs and return for new exchange capabilities are captured so that prime contract language addresses what data is shared, how to share it, and how the owner pays for it. So the backward flow of this was there was some figuring out how to get basically who to pay for it, which having the benefit of having some folks from UT in our group, we all agreed there's only one person with money in the system, which is the owner, right? So we all know who's going to pay for it. It's the owner paying for it. And the added costs and returns was, in an ideal scenario, there isn't a cost. If we work this problem correctly, there's efficiency built into the process so that the owner doesn't have or doesn't incur added costs. So that's kind of our adjusted version of things. I don't know if we have our...
Yeah, do we know? Can we see what slide we have next?
What is that one? Not yours?
It is ours.
What you originally had? Yeah.
Oh, good. That was our original. Oh, we don't have our future state.
Oh yeah, we don't
have our future state one up here.
Oh, where's your board? Yeah,
It's all right. Go back to at least for
That's
now.
okay. This is next.
I just took it like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, this is our.
We
our
use
mess.
both sides of the board.
So anyway, given that we had an owner, we obviously this is a really big statement and there's a lot of data and all that. So what we chose to focus on was submittals, basically for the purposes of providing F&M data for the owner at the end of the life cycle process. So we came up with we started out looking at it as, is it BIM related? So you see there's the BEP provided an RFP. And we really just drilled down. We also had 2 electrical contractors in our group and 2 general contractors. So Casey, unfortunately, we were missing the design side, so we may have hosted you guys. I don't know, but
I'm used to it.
I didn't want to subject you to that.
So getting into the submittal process side of it, it led us to talk a lot about the amount of waste that goes into the submittal process and how we keep just throwing things away as we go through the process, whether it's models or whether it's actual submittal data. We take the drawings, we throw them away, we produce shop drawings. Then we get to the end, we throw those away, we produce as-built drawings. So that was kind of the waste or the inefficiency in the current state process that we were trying to come up with a way to solve for within our objective there.
While Nathan's pulling up the picture of our current state, I can talk a little bit about the barriers and roadblocks we ran into that we have to think about. So we don't necessarily... there's no way we're going to get rid of the CYA in our industry. Everyone, that's going to stay. We're going to have the block of covering your ass, making sure you're making money. And a cousin of that is that everyone has their own incentives. So you can't ignore them. You can't just pretend if you want me to do this, I'll just pay for it and it's fine. Thank you. Move along. Another barrier you run into, maybe the team can help me out while I'm trying to memorize this without a visual, but you're going to have barriers around access to data, who owns it, things of that nature. And so where we ended up with that is that we're going to need to...
There we go.
Is that it?
That's it.
Yeah, winner.
Goodness.
Thanks. Whew, the vamping there.
So there's our anchor down there, right? All the unknown ROI, competing incentives that all really boil down to like the CYA that he was just talking about.
And just to bring back to it was hard in our group to not get into the technical details, but it come back to our statement about the cost. Like we all kind of agree and we can all paint a similar picture of like, we want structured data. We want it at the fingertips of the technician when they go to change the light bulb. We keep coming back to that light bulb analogy to kind of ground ourselves on where we're at. We want there to be open APIs and data flowing. Like we can all imagine this utopia of data. But what we want to come back to is like, well, how do you pay for that? So one of the actions that we came up with, so given that we want interoperability, we want all this data transfer to be paid for, we're going to need cost transparency. So when we have cost transparency of what does it take to set up a common data environment for a project, then maybe we can actually have one because nobody knows. So some of the actions that we are taking from this, which really apply for this group, is how do we get to project-specific common data environments so that when we have a UT who wants a new hospital, that there's a place for all the data to go. Take the Lego analogies. How do we build on that dossier of information in a digital structural format so that at the end of the day, UT has it? Well, one thing we came up with as a rocket is we can have a checklist of at least questions to ask at the beginning of a project. Things such as, what is your system of preference? Are you guys wanting to use Procore? You want to use Kahua? Are you wanting to use Trimble? Who am I forgetting? Aquifer? Any other sponsors?
Whoever.
Yeah, ACC. Starting to get some standard cost estimates. And I think one thing we can do in this room, Avocado included, is just like kind of letting the world know better, like order of magnitude on this stuff. Like what does an integration between systems cost? What does a big enough database for a project cost? Like just so people kind of know those sort of things. And then lastly, and we can do this just through our LinkedIns and memorizing some of these facts, what's the industry education we can do so that people understand these costs? So I think that pretty much rounds it out. Anything you'd add, Rob, or before we open it up for questions?
That's pretty much it. Oh, well, one thing I will say. So
How much does it cost and who pays?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. And we all, we don't want to like show our cards too quickly to the world and have our competitors undercut us. But one alternative also just being quick about answering quotes so that it doesn't take 3 months for an owner to be like, hey, I think I want to set up this CDE thing and be like, oh, okay, well, order of magnitude, here you go. Like,
I'll use the word brief, but I'm more like go terrific than that. What I tell my team to do is not shy away from price. As soon as price comes up, we're happy to tell you what the levels are and what you get with that. But most importantly, what we're trying to do, we're not trying to sell you. The better not to. What they're trying to do is determine if the integration behavior that we have currently, we're not a bespoke company like an Avocado, and I'm not sure about Aquifer, but if you need a bespoke integration, that's your boy right there. If you want something out of the box, that our workflows that we have will derive results for you on RFI submittals, documents and drawings, then we can tell you exactly what it's going to cost. It's not difficult and it's not hidden. Theirs is harder because they have to get professional services involved.
and I would say even for us, there's an advantage for us sharing costs soon in the sales cycle because we qualify buyers quicker. Like we generally try to like by the second meeting give you an order of magnitude of cost so that if you're like, oh, my budget was $5,000, it's like, cool, come back to us when it's not.
$5,000, don't call anyone.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, I think one other thing I did want to call out, we kind of grouped some stuff here at the bottom of the marker board on the slide. Something that we threw out kind of early that we don't hear a lot about anymore is the whole idea of COBie. And one of the barriers to COBie, as we all talked about, because several people in the group had experience with having to deal with it from time to time, or maybe potentially deal with it from time to time, is one of the big barriers has always been that manual entry piece, right? Because it's effectively for what most people see Kobe as, especially the poor bastard that has to sit and type all the stuff into the fields, is this giant, massive spreadsheet of 200 columns, and where do you type things in and when. So we talked a lot about ways of taking the sort of unstructured data of the current state of like PDF-based submittals, and how do we use potentially the A word to get things out of those unstructured data within the PDF submittals and get them into the Excel format, so to speak, of Kobe. So I am now the AI hater that brought up AI, sorry. But
Yeah, I was like, which A word are you talking about?
right. But I think that's a good application for it, right? Because that's a legitimately tedious task, right?
Yeah.
Daily logs are not a legitimately tedious task. This is a legitimately tedious task. So taking some of that away, and that's where I think we've talked a lot about the difference between previous of these meetings and what's changed. In the past, we've always talked about that difficulty of getting the unstructured data into a structured system. And now there's kind of this maybe light at the end of the tunnel for actually being able to do something about it. And that's where a lot of the education piece on the Rockets comes in, is things we can all go away from this and do is talk to other people that we deal with, up and down the food chain and the cycle within our project teams.